Yeah, so we're here in West Haven Marina in Auckland. We've been here for about, I don't know, 10, 12 days. And tomorrow we're heading off to back to Australia. So it's pretty good. I'm really excited. My wife come over for a few days, and yeah, we had a sightseeing tour and done all the things around Auckland and all that you can do. But I'm ready to get home, and yeah, I've been away for, by the time I get home, it'll be another, it'll be 2 months in total. So which is not too bad compared to, we thought we were going to be away for 3 months. So, but this is the area where we're at, and that's the city just there, and just over here you got the Sky Tower. We're at the marina office of West Haven, and it's just behind me, but there's a bit of a boardwalk here. I don't know how well you can see that, but hopefully you can. But this is the view, so you can see all those lights down the bottom there. That's all the marina, and then you got the city in the background, and that thing that's sort of lit up in different colours. I hope you can hear me. It's blowing 20 knots, and we've got the engine on, but just there's the city just going out. But just in here is where they face the America's Cup when they come to New Zealand. Blowing 25 knots on the nose, but once we get around this little headland up here, which I'll show you in a second, we'll be able to get the sail up. But I'll just show you where the start line is. So it's a little bit windy, but or the finish line, sorry, is that headland just there, and this buoy, this channel marker beacon over here. So that was where we finished for the record. Yeah, morning of day 2. We've done about 140 miles, I think, 140 miles. So we've got about, I don't know, 50 to go to get to the northern tip of New Zealand, and then we'll be facing home, I suppose. The wind, we've been close reaching all night, in 25 knots. We're making up good time, obviously, but the wind is starting to change a bit now. So it was on the beam, and now it's close reach. Pardon me. And now it's close reaching again, and it's pretty shitty out here. I mean, it's all right. It's, you know, it's only blowing 15 knots at the moment, but you know, as you can see, it's not champagne sailing. We made it to the Cape, northern tip of New Zealand. The wind has gone to 8 knots. It's in an okay direction, it's on the beam, but there's a bit of current in here, a couple of knots. So switched the engine on about half an hour ago, and I put it up to 2,500 RPM, and we're just going to get through this 17k, 17 mile as quick as we can, and then once we get out of the tide and the tides, which is up to 1.9 knots in all directions, you know, so it circulates around, we'll shut the engine off and just sail with whatever we've got. I'm not stressing about this trip. I'm quite happy with it, actually. but I'm actually starting to worry about how much fuel that I've got. So I didn't fill up. I only used 15-20 litres. Getting to Auckland and that, for running the engine and that. And when I did the record where I couldn't motor, I was having it in gear. So I'm already down 20 litres, and we've only been motoring for about a couple of hours. So it's just dropped now. It's dropped down to the 10 litre increments. So yeah. So hopefully we'll just get through this 3 hours, and then whatever we've got, we'll just sail with. Best case scenario. Yeah, so it's morning of day 3. I got a couple of hours sleep last night in sort of 25-30 minute blocks. Pardon me, sorry. I'm feeling pretty good. We're probably because of the lack of thought about fuel. I thought, well, when I first come over to try to establish that record, I didn't need a lot of fuel, just a bit of backup just in case something happened. But I had, 4.5 days worth of fuel, or 4 days, and we've got very, very light winds. It's blowing about 7 knots now, and we're doing fours and a halves knots. Feet over ground, and we probably should be going a bit faster to try and make these waypoints to do a 10-day crossing. But I don't want to come into Sydney on the sniff of an oily rag in regards to fuel. So we're just we're cruising along here. We're about 45-50 miles from the Cape, so we're into the Tasman now. Well into the Tasman, and yeah, it's pretty much what it was when I left it. Light winds, but in saying that, we're going to get a bit of a hammering, sort of 25-30 knots, close reaching on Thursday and Friday. So even though this is a little bit slow, it's still pretty relaxing, so. So there's just enough wind to fill the sails. We're sort of pulsing on. We drop down to 4 knots, 4.5, and then the wind pulses, and you pick up a little bit, and yeah. So this is my world at the moment. Morning of day 4. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. We've been sailing all night. We've been doing sort of 5s and 6s with about 8 or 9 knots on the beam. We had 10 knots there for a while too, so we're doing sort of 6 6s, which was good. And just about, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, I've turned the engine on. We've got about 7 knots, sort of close reaching. The sails are flapping. And yeah, we've got the engine on at about 1600 RPM, which is okay because it's conserving fuel, but at the same time we're doing 5 knots, 5.2, 5.3 and all that stuff. So I've sort of resigned to the fact that the engine's going to be on for the next 24 to 36 hours, which is a bit of a bugger, but we've got plenty of fuel at this rate of 1500 RPMs, and then by tomorrow afternoon we should have 15 knots on the beam, and then we'll have wind all the way to Sydney 5, which is good. I didn't do much filming yesterday because we were just motoring all day. It's pretty boring, but woke up this morning after having some half an hour breaks downstairs, and we've got sort of 8 to 10 knots, which is good. It's from the beam, and we're doing 6.3, 6.4, 6.5 speed over ground, so it's pretty good. So yeah, this is what we're looking at here. We're about 300 miles from our first turning point to avoid some 30 knot winds that are down a little bit lower than us. That's why we're high. 400 miles from New Zealand and about 600 miles from Australia, and just over to the left of us we've got a cargo ship just in here somewhere. He was on a collision course with us for about an hour, and I tried to get him on the radio and raise him, and he wouldn't answer, and only about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes ago he got on the radio, and he answered, and he said, you know, I said, listen, I'm a sailing vessel, and can you adjust course? And the sort of rule of thumb is cargo vessels, you know, big ships and all that have rights of way in channels, but out here sailing has priority over power, even though you do whatever you have to do, you know. So if we can duck under him, we would, but he's happy and he's adjusting course for us, and yeah, but it's pretty weird, you know, all these ocean miles, and we've been on a collision course for a little bit. So but he's going to duck in front of us now. He's going about 14-15 knots. So this is where we're at now. It's late afternoon, just watching a movie on the laptop, and I heard the AIS alarm go off, and I would have seen it if the alarm didn't go off anyhow, because I'm up here checking every 20 minutes. But yeah, I'm happy I got the AIS, and it's good that all ships have got it, you know. So yeah, it's morning of day 6. So we're halfway through by rights the 10-day passage. It's last night I didn't get much sleep. It got up to sort of 20 knots, and we're doing 8.5s and 9s. And I quickly reduced head sail and put in a couple of reefs. And yeah, there was a bit of an issue trying to get the main straight enough into the wind to actually pull the reefs in, but eventually got there. I had to go up on the out of the cockpit, but I had the harness on, so that was alright. And yeah, it's about at the moment it's blowing about 15 or 16 with gusts of 17 and 18, but we're doing 6 6s and all that stuff, so 6.5, 6 6s. Last night the satellite phone didn't work, and my wife Wendy was getting a little bit worried, she actually put more credit on the phone because she thought that might have been the problem, but I couldn't get satellite reception, so, or the satellites wouldn't pick up, so, but I managed to get a hold of her this morning, so she was a bit relieved. But she emailed the weather guy Bob and asked him, has he heard from me or anything like that, and he said no, but he's in the exact position that he should be at this time. So you know, I explained to her that, you know, if I did set off an EPIRB, Canberra would call her and my parents, who are my listed numbers, as soon as the EPIRB went off, to say, you know, where is he? Is he out where the EPIRB is? So I sort of said to her, you know, no news is... Got off the phone to my wife Wendy, and she got a message from my weatherman saying that there's going to be squalls tonight, which I'm not looking forward to, but, you know, people deal with it, we'll just deal with it. But also lightning, and I sort of got, like, shit, you know, not lightning, because not last year, but the year before the Sydney to Hobart, pretty soon before it, the yacht race, the Australian Wild Oats got hit by lightning and knocked out all its electronics. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, mate, you know, we're still 500 miles from Australia, you know, so I'd hate to lose all the electronics this far out, you know. That would, you know, I've got my iPad, I've got a handheld GPS and all that stuff, you know, with navionics on it, the iPad and that, but, you know, that would mean no autopilot, you know, no nothing, so that'd be a bit of a pain. I couldn't charge the phone, I couldn't charge the satellite phone, so, yeah, so, I'd have to say I'm a bit apprehensive about that would be an understatement, so to speak. I don't know what day it is. I'm a little bit tired. I got a bit of sleep last night, but the engine was on and off about 6 times. We had about 12 knots of wind at one stage, and we'd be going along for an hour, and then we'd have about 4 knots of wind, and we'd be just spinning around the Windex, just spinning circles. And so the engine would go on, and then we'd get another hour later or so, we'd get 12 knots, and I'd put the engine in neutral and just cruise along for half an hour, and be like, alright, yeah, we're sweet. So take the engine off, you know, turn it off, and then half an hour later the wind was 5 knots again, but probably about 4 hours ago the wind kicked up to about 15 to 17 knots. We've got about half the head sail out, 3/4 of the head sail out, and we're cruising along at about 6 knots. I know what you're probably thinking, you still got that manky shirt on, but it's been 30 degrees constantly, 32 degrees in the cabin temperature, so I only put the t-shirt on when I'm filming, so don't think that I'm out here at the moment. It's blowing between 17 and 19 knots from the beam. We've got about 330 miles to go, so we should be 2 and a bit days. Maybe we're doing about, we're doing 7s at the moment, but it probably doesn't look as bad on camera, but it's very uncomfortable. These swells are getting pretty big. Bit of water there. I didn't have the camera rolling, but you can see the water in the back there. We just got absolutely smashed by a wave. There's water everywhere. But yeah, I turned the camera off about 10 seconds before it happened, and here might be another one too. So, but yeah. It's blown between 20 knots and 17 knots, and the sea is ridiculously messy and uncomfortable, and I hate it. But anyhow, nearly over. It's morning of day 9. We're about 213 miles from Australia, and we've got about 290 miles to go to Sydney. So we're the original trip was planned to take 10 days, and we should come in pretty much just in on 10 days, which is good. We'll probably arrive not tomorrow morning, but the next morning, which is good. We've got, I don't know, 10 to 12 knots at the moment from the beam. We're doing between 6 and 6.5, and sometimes touching 7s. We've obviously got a little bit of current here or something, so yeah, it's calmed down about, I don't know, yeah, 5, 6, 7 knots since overnight, and it's actually at one stage this morning at about 6 o'clock or 6:30, the wind died out to pretty much nothing, and the sails were backwinded and all that stuff, so we motored for about 5 minutes, shook out the reef while we're doing that, and and then the wind picked up to like 11 knots again, so 12 knots. So yeah, if we can maintain 6, we'll get in there. One thing morning of day 11 on my movie over to try and establish a sailing record. was regards to insurance. I've been the insurance company that I've got at the moment does solo insurance, or insurance for solo people, which is, you know, all good, and I just assumed they'd cover me for, you know, to New Zealand as well, you know. And I was talking to a bloke in Docklands who just bought his boat back from Fiji, and he said, geez, how are you going to get insurance, you know, for solo sailing across an ocean, so to speak? And I said, you know, I've got solo insurance and all that stuff. He goes, oh, that's pretty cool, you know, who's that with? Club Marine and all that. And then when I got home, I thought I'd do a bit of research, and I rang up Club Marine, and they said, yeah, you're insured 250 nautical miles off Australia. And I said, well, I'm planning on going to New Zealand. And they said, well, you've got insurance 250 nautical miles off Australia and 250 nautical miles off New Zealand, but in between, because you're solo, we won't cover you. So I went to a few other companies, and there was another company that did solo insurance, which had a 3 times excess insurance policy and all that stuff. And I, you know, sent in all my sailing resume, so to speak, and all that, and they didn't. They said because I'd never crossed the Tasman before as a crew, they wouldn't insure me as a solo crossing the Tasman, because it's, you know, it can be pretty treacherous and, you know, unpredictable and all that stuff. So in the end, I thought, shit, I've been planning this trip for 2 years and 3 months by that time, and you know, what am I going to do? Just not go? So yeah, so we risked it, and the 550 nautical miles in between the 250 either side, we didn't have insurance, and it was playing on me a little bit, you know, what happens if something happens and all that, you know. But in the end, we're, yeah, 212 miles away now from Australia, 290 miles away from Sydney, and we have insurance again. So, and it's going to be a long time until I venture off this far again, solo. So yeah, so that's good. We've got insurance back. Afternoon of day 9. We've got about 10 knots of breeze from right behind us. We've got full main up and the head sail full out, poled out. We're doing about between 6 and 7 knots, depending on when we're surfing down these little waves that are around. But yeah, the head sail's all poled out. Main's good to go, and it's supposed to be like this for the next couple of days. That's Sydney, just there. Oh, I can see it on the chart plotter. It's about 80 mile away or 70 mile away, and it's directly in that direction. It's so close. It's a pretty nice night. I don't know if I said before, but the engine's on because we've got some electrical issues in the engine, where the electrical issue, the things that are used to start the motor, shutting down every sort of 10 minutes and then restarting. I called my electrician, and he said, you know, don't stress too much about it, just don't turn the engine off. So yeah, we're not turning the engine off. So but you know, I've got it on about 1500 RPMs, and we're keeping it with a bit of sails out, and the speed, and we're keeping it about 5, 8, 6 knots. So we'll get there in about, I don't know, 10, 12 hours. So yeah, to Sydney Heads anyhow, and then we'll have to check into customs and then find a place to stay, and then I'm going to sleep. Well, we're back in Sydney Heads. Got about half an hour to customs. that's alright. So yeah, we're literally limping in the electronics on the boat in regards to the engine, non-existent. Basically, they're shot. So I don't know how I'm gonna. Well, to turn the engine off, I'll have to use a kill switch, and then to turn it on again. To get over to, I got a marina berth at Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, which is the home of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart. I've stayed there a few times, and I stayed there when I did the Sydney to Hobart in 2013, I think. So yeah, so we've got a boat coming straight for us. We've got the strongest wind of the trip. The wind instruments are currently saying it's blowing 45 knots from that way, but it's actually coming from that way. That's it. Cheers. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you liked it.